Okay, so Anglo American pulling out of South Africa. It's big news, right?
Definitely.
But there's so much more to this story. This is the end of an era. We're diving deep today, folks, into well, into Anglo American leaving the South African platinum mines.
Yeah, and this is a company that's been like the big name in South African platinum for like what, over a century?
Over 100 years. It's wild.
It's not just about them leaving though, is it?
No, no, not at all.
Uh,
I mean, you think about all the technology they brought in, like they really helped develop the industry.
right, the stuff they pioneered is still used all over the world, but there's a whole other side to that too.
Oh, yeah.
They were, well, let's be honest, they were part of a system that wasn't always so great, especially for the workers.
Yeah, the labor practices back then, not exactly something to be proud of.
No, not at all. And so you kind of have to wonder, like, is this exit? Is it also a sign of things changing? Like how corporations are thinking about their impact, especially in places like South Africa.
Right, like the responsibility factor. Okay, but on a more practical level, what does this actually mean for South Africa?
Well, think about the towns that depend on these mines, places like Rustenburg, Thabazimbi. They're going to be hit hard.
Jobs, right?
Yeah, like a lot of jobs. We're talking maybe 10,000, maybe more.
Wow.
And that's just the direct impact. And then you got to factor in like what happens to the rand, the whole South African economy, which is, let's face it, already pretty shaky.
That's a huge blow. But everyone's just saying global shifts, and it seems a little too easy. What about Anglo American itself? Are they struggling?
It's a good question, and the answer is, well, yeah, kind of.
Okay, so what's going on internally?
Well, the ore grades in some of their South African mines, they're not what they used to be. It's getting more expensive to get the platinum out. Plus, the whole world is moving towards greener energy. That puts pressure on them.
So they're feeling the squeeze.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe this exit is as much about Anglo American trying to survive, adapt to this new world, as it is about South Africa itself.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So then is Anglo American the only one doing this? What about other companies?
Oh, you're definitely seeing a trend.
A trend.
Yeah, other big mining companies, they're taking a long, hard look at South Africa, and not all of them are liking what they see.
What are they seeing?
Well, like we talked about, the resources are getting harder to get to, plus there's all the political uncertainty, and then there's the whole shift away from, things like gas-powered cars, which were a huge market for platinum.
Electric vehicles, yeah.
Exactly. So companies are thinking, do we really want to stay here? It's a big risk.
So what's next for South Africa's platinum industry then? What does the future hold?
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, right? I mean, South Africa still has tons of platinum, the largest reserves in the world, but now things get tricky.
How so?
Well, think about it. Can South Africa bring in new investors now that the big players are leaving? Can they make mining more sustainable, address those environmental concerns?
Good points.
And what about the economy? Can they, like, get away from depending so much on mining? Those are the big questions, and honestly, I don't have the answers. But those answers, that's going to determine what happens next. It's up to South Africa to decide.
Wow. So this isn't just a business story. It's almost like a turning point for a whole country.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
We've been talking about Anglo American leaving, but really what we've been deep diving into is it's a global shift in the commodities market.
Exactly.
So to all our listeners out there, think about your own investments.
Yeah, good point.
Think about the future of green tech, because that still needs platinum. What's South Africa's role going to be in all this?
Yeah.
It's a big question mark, and it's something we're all going to be watching very, very closely.
For sure.
That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.